what the office looks like. Can you see it?
Okay, welcome to the office. Woohoo!
Yeah, and we have over here, let me show you, over here we have Trump.
There you go.
It says Viva Christ, Viva Trump.
There you go. See, I got Latinos for Trump right here.
The back of the office, you see the presidential flag with
That's
the
awesome.
inauguration day. And then in the front of the office, I'll show you here in a minute, it's 1,500 square feet. We have meetings here, we have gatherings. As you can see, we have the police flag as you come in.
Back the blue. Woo!
And the military Trump flag, there you go.
That's
and then,
fantastic.
so that no one feels left out.
No one should ever feel left out. Don't tread on me, rainbow. Absolutely. There you go.
So we are here. We are very proud to be Trumpsters, and then we have all our we have signs on the propositions here in California. We're trying to stop the socialists from gaining more ground and destroying our tax base. But we are very proud to be here. Usually, like I said, we have anywhere from 30 to 35 people at one time. In the evenings, we have people coming in and calling for Trump. We have texting for Trump. We're in the heart of the bluest of blue states here in Long Beach, California.
The heart of the bluest of the blue, but obviously there's a huge swell because there is a silent vote. See, I got 1,500 knocks so far.
Good. Let me tell you, this afternoon at 3 o'clock, we are having, which I will not be attending because I'm here in the office. We're waiting for some people to come pick up signs that we promised. But here in California, in Malibu, we have a large demonstration this afternoon, which is a Go for Trump vote. We also have one tomorrow in Burbank, and we are planning one here in the southern.
We gotta get Shifty Shift out of Burbank. You're absolutely right.
Yep. So we're moving very, very, very well. It's funny because even though Trump is not here, we have thousands of people that show up to support him. And when Biden and Kamala, which, in Spanish, mala, which means bad. So they're lucky to get 30 or 40 people to show up to their rallies. And for the Trump rallies, without Trump, we get thousands of people. So I'm very excited about it.
There you go. I think Kamala, being communist and Mala bad, is a very good way to pronounce her name. Even though she says it's Kamala. I think it's right up there with Kamala, California. Kamalafornia? Or actually, they're saying that hashtag Black Hillary. Have you seen that one? That one was trending.
No, you know what I found very interesting is this week I had to go up to San Francisco to work. And while I was up there, I was looking at the gas prices. $4.58 a gallon.
I am in South Carolina and North Carolina, and it's a $1.85, $1.95, $1.76, and that's for unleaded and diesel. What's the problem?
Here it's the communists in California.
And $1.50 of taxes from California taxes before you even start, right?
Yeah, per gallon. And even here in Southern California today, I filled up my truck, which I hate to do here in California, but I unfortunately still live here for a while.
That big red, beautiful truck, American-made truck.
I know, right? American-made, and I had to pay $3.58, and I got to tell you, it hurt because I know that across the border in Arizona, it's $2.35 a gallon.
Yeah.
And we produce so much fuel here. We produce the fuel, we refine it. Here in the Long Beach, Signal Hill area, we have constant pumping out of fuel. The barrel of fuel is in the 40s, and yet we're still paying here in California as if the barrel was $100. So it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So anyway, welcome to the Trump office here in Long Beach. Very proud to have you. What do you want to talk about today?
Well, from when we last spoke, it seems like the world is completely on its tilt. And I think truly what we need to talk about is that how our First Amendment rights and how we are being censored by the big tech, being Twitter, and obviously from Kayleigh McInerney as far as being shut out, the New York Post being shut out. I mean, there's been so much that has went on just in this last, couple of weeks since we spoke. Yeah, you're right. How do you and where do you start? But right now, I think what we need to do is we need to be talking to potentially our Republican brothers and sisters and our fellow Patriot Americans to be able to, what can we tell them in regards to, you got your thumb on the camera there.
Sorry about that.
What can we talk to them and tell them about as far as those points about what Trump has done? Because what I really want to focus is on shifting away from the fear to what Trump has done. And it's obvious right now, even Twitter has went to go ahead and release people out of Twitter jail, and that they can post. But now Twitter is putting their own flags on what you post. And it really is, this is socialism and communism and suppression of free speech. And now you have people even stating that maybe free speech isn't a good thing, which is just beyond all comprehension. So we've got, 16 days? I mean, here's today's 17th, 16 days to this election. Let's speak to that right now. What are we going to talk to these independent voters, these undecided voters, and how we can make sure that we rally every Republican, every registered Republican to vote, to either early vote or get in there and vote on the day, because and also I have what I definitely want to be able to share with the audience, which is very important. Poll watchers is going to be extraordinarily important. And not only poll watchers, but also election officials. So you can share with all of your colleagues, and I'm going to share with the Home Poppins, the Poppins Report audience, to email Riley.Mahoney, that's RIELY, .Mahoney, MAHONEY, @GOP.com. And that will go directly, and he will get you plugged in as, say that you'd like to be a poll watcher during the voting, but then the real shenanigans are going to happen while they're counting the votes to make sure.
Yep, because who counts wins.
Coming in the back door out of somebody's back of their trunk. So you need to request to become an election official. That means actually watching those votes being counted. So I'm going to go ahead and share that and text that to you. But that has really got to be the call out, because this is what's happening. Let's say you have 8 Democrats in the room and there's no Republicans for an election official. They right then and there can go ahead and switch their party affiliation. So now you have 4 Democrats and you have 4 Republicans, and they're ready to start counting those votes. That's what's happening here. So take it away, John.
Well, let me add to what you said. If anybody wants to be, and like I said, we need poll watchers, we need people at the count. Very important. Any of the Republican county seats, for example, here in LA, we have the LA GOP. You can contact the LA GOP directly, and they'll give you a training class, which takes about an hour and a half to 2 hours. which you can do on Zoom, you can do on web like you and I are doing right now. Once you get this training, they will assign you to a post, they'll assign you to anywhere that you're needed. And that's very much needed. But
well,
I will
election
tell you,
officials and poll watcher for the day, but election officials, because we already know it's not going to be one day.
correct.
This is literally going to be in weeks, and especially as we attempt, Joe Collins is doing the best he can to go ahead and oust Maxine Waters.
Yeah, and I will tell you one thing that I think is very, very important is that we have to watch these polls. We have to watch the count. You know,
That's
2 years ago.
going on till what, November 19th in Los Angeles?
Yeah, yeah. 2 years ago in Arizona, there was an election with Martha McSally, and thank God she was given a Senate seat to replace the last senator that passed away, and I don't really like him, so I'm going to mention his name. But anyway, Martha McSally was running. During the election count, the first couple of days, she was winning, and then I'd say about 4 or 5 days, because I happened to be in Arizona working at the time, 4 or 5 days into the count, they found a box with 20,000 votes for her opponent. So, of course, you know who won that election.
It's amazing, absolutely.
It's amazing. But here's
provisional votes. You're absolutely right, because 2 years ago, I was working on the Dean Hiller campaign, who was running against Sisolak in Nevada.
Yeah.
And it was an hour and a half into it. We were ahead by 50,000 votes. An hour and a half later, all of a sudden now we're behind 50,000 votes. And
hey, they find boxes with
and
votes.
now we're conceding. I mean, it's literally, well, how many votes are we behind? And now let me just go ahead. Hold on a second. I got them in the back of my trunk, already filled out.
I found a box. I found a box. That's their favorite. That's their favorite tune. I found a box. But anyway, listen. I think that this week we have good news for the Republicans. And I'm sorry if I'm moving a little bit. There we go. I think we have good news for the Republicans.
You're getting some of our audience seasick, but that's okay. It's Long Beach.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm holding up my phone with my hand. So, and I'm trying to get all the Trump paraphernalia
that's
that we
okay.
have in the front of the office so that people can see.
That's okay. This. You and I were Paul Revere right now.
That's right. That's right. But anyway, listen. Jane Fonda came out this week and said that God had given the Democrats, the Social Democrats, a gift by giving us coronavirus. This is what the Democrats are all about. They'd rather kill Americans than lose an election. They don't care about us Americans. They only care about themselves.
Kill America, which is literally in the entire inception of America, is the greatest idea ever.
Yep.
Ever in mankind.
But then, you know what, Gina, I also think that this week we got a gift from the media. I think that when Facebook and Twitter refuse to tell the people, refuse to let anybody post the horrible lies of Joe Biden and his son and his family, how wealthy they have become on the backs of us, the American people. I think how wealthy they have become off China and the Ukraine. And now we know, because it's in writing from Biden himself, the son, Beau Biden, that, you know, they actually made lots of money off the Chinese, the Russians, the Ukrainians, and God knows how many other people, other countries, while Papa was vice president and while Papa was senator. So I can just imagine if Donald Trump Jr. had made 10 cents in Russia, like Biden's son has made money, and not 10 cents, but millions of dollars. Oh my God, the media would be all over the place. But I have to say that Wolf Blitzer, who is the liberalist of liberals, actually attacked Pelosi this week.
Having a random act of journalism. and
Right?
hold Nancy Pelosi.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. So I think this has been a good week for us because we have found out the very truth about how crooked the Bidens are. We have found out how they're going to if they win. Let me tell you, if they win, they're going to do what they did to the media in Cuba, what they did to the media in Venezuela, which is
what North Korea.
You can't ask us any questions that we don't like.
China are doing to their people right now. A complete.
Yes. I mean, Joe Biden won't answer anything that hasn't been scripted. And it was funny because during the 15th, the night of Wednesday the 15th, when he was on television, a question was put to him that was written by one of his scriptwriters who also wrote for Obama. So I think that's very funny how Donald Trump that night had a debate his questioner, but Joe Biden got questions written by his campaign.
But then we had another gift from God, putting the red masked lady right behind President Trump, nodding her head, who also is a immigration attorney, who also ran for Congress. And I'm sure there's a producer that was probably admonished, if not redistributed, that how they could have picked to put that person behind Trump. And then, of course, look at the celebrity and the outrage to NBC Universal, hat tip NBC Universal, who obviously could see what kind of ratings that they were going to get, placing Trump directly next to Biden. But that just blew the entire entertainment and celebrities' heads completely off. What say you?
You know what? The only thing that worried me in this is that I knew before the counts came out that they were going to say Trump had less people watching than Biden. Mm-hmm. I knew that was going to happen. But I will also tell you that I think it was done very early because I was getting off a plane at 5 o'clock and there was no way I could watch it. Mm-hmm. So even though I tried to take part, actually, to be honest with you, I wanted to see what Joe Biden was about. So I didn't take Trump because I know Trump. I know what Trump is all about. I wanted to hear Joe Biden. I wanted to hear anything he had to say.
Bedtime stories and
yeah, and you know what? One of the things I found, Gina, that was very interesting was that Joe Biden was sitting in the chair with his vest, with his jacket open and slouching all back. And I remember when Bush 41, when Bush 41 looked at his watch during a debate with Bill Clinton, oh my God, the media went crazy. The media went absolutely berserk. And they said that he was a pompous ass.
You're going to catch a plane? Where are you going? Where else do you need to be?
You know, and here's Joe Biden sitting there with his legs crossed, his jacket open, his tie all over the place. And I'm going, I wonder if they're going to say that this guy is not presidential at all. I mean, he's not presidential. Let's face it. Why would you hire someone who's been working for you for 47 years, who's done nothing, when you have a man who's worked for us for 3.5 years and has made enormous progress? And I got to tell you, I was here in the office this morning with someone who came in to pick up some Trump signs. So he goes, John, what do you think about this whole pandemic with the Corvic and all that? I said, well, first of all, this is what I think. H1N1 had 65 million Americans, 800,000 with the H1N1. 64,000.
The swine flu had 60 million infected people. Exactly.
I know. I said 64,000 Americans died of the swine flu. 64,000. Nothing was mentioned. Not a word was mentioned. I said, I think that the reason I think Donald Trump has done a fabulous job. I think Donald Trump got all the PPE, the personal protective equipment. I think he's moving the vaccine. I think he's done more than any other president could have done. or would have done, because that's the man he is. But I also think that he listened, because he's not a doctor. He's not a medical professional. He did what a businessman would do, which was get out and get things done. Mm-hmm. But he had to listen to the medical so-called professionals in government. And honestly, when he wins, the first thing you should do is fire all of them, because they're worthless. Because you do the same thing over and over again and you get the results we're getting. But the medications that this administration has developed is phenomenal. But think about this. In 2009, when you got the H1N1, you went to the doctor, you got all the antivirals that they had at the time, Thermoflu, quite a bunch of other things, antibiotics so you wouldn't get an infection. Mm-hmm. You got treatment. You were treated. And you still had 65 million Americans get it. But here, with the coronavirus is supposed to be so deadly, what happens? You get Tylenol and told to go home. Most people, when this first pandemic started, they thought, well, how bad could it be if all I got to do is take Tylenol and go home? In fact, I'll give you.
You didn't need masks. Remember, beginning of.
Oh no! Don't wear a mask. I remember Fauci going, "Don't wear a mask." I remember our Surgeon General, who I adore, Dr. Adams. He said, "Don't wear masks. Only sick people wear masks." But anyway, what you really have to look at, and I'll give you an example that happened within my own business environment of people that I know. I know a gentleman in a location that he went to the hospital because he was feeling very sick, and the doctor said to him, "Go home and quarantine because I think you have the coronavirus." And he said to him, "Take Tylenol every 4 hours and rest and drink plenty of fluids." So he had to go to work, and he said, "Well, how?" And he said this to me. He goes, "How bad can this really be if I have to take Tylenol and rest and drink plenty of fluids? It's like a cold then." So he went to work. He infected a lot of people at his job. In fact, one of the persons that he infected also went to the doctor, and the doctor said, "Oh, you have sinus problems. Take some Certex and take Tylenol and rest." Well, her sinus problems were very bad, and she ended up in the hospital for 31 days. Now imagine if the doctor had said, "I think you have the coronavirus. Let me give you some
hydroxychloroquine
medication, hydroxy, or let's say even antibiotics to prevent your sinuses from getting infected, or cortisones for respiration," she would have been fine. But this stuff of Tylenol and go rest for 14 days or 10 days doesn't cut it. Doesn't cut it. That's why we have the number of infections that we have.
Interestingly enough, the statistics now stating that 85% of the people that were wearing masks constantly that came down with COVID-19. Okay, explain to me that one. If the mask is supposed to be the solution, they still came down with it. Also, statistics saying there's 230,000 COVID deaths. However, there's 400,000 Americans 400,000 less death. 400,000 less Americans have not died. So we have 400,000 less deaths in 2020, potentially attributed to, highway accidents, et cetera, et cetera. So in one way, shape, or form, we actually have more people alive than, the morbidity for COVID, but we really have to focus on that morbidity that it came from pre-existing conditions and also deaths that were in nursing homes.
Right.
The highest amount, if you take the percentage of deaths out of the equation from New York and New Jersey, then that puts the entire US in a completely lower category, below Europe. And of course, then what did Cuomo say? Well, that was a mistake. And
it's okay because he's a Democrat. And it's okay because he's a Democrat.
Even Biden, when he is now being asked about the Crime Act that he enacted that actually kept more minorities incarcerated.
In jail.
And then he said that's a mistake as well. So, whoops, if I had the opportunity, I would ask Mr. Biden, and here's my question that people should ask. Okay, well, should there be reparations to the Crime Act, to the people, and to the families?
Yes, there should be. There should be, because there's people have spent thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars trying to clear their names, maybe even millions, thousands and thousands of hours, and the years, they'll never get those years back. Never.
Reparations, but reparations specifically that people and families and children that have lost parts of their life forever, and now that is a mistake. Well, I really think that there should be reparations in that capacity.
Yes. Yes. And President Trump is the only president that did anything about Joe Biden's law that he helped pass with a Ku Klux Klan member of the Democratic Party.
And now,
so let's not forget that. Let's not forget that.
Exactly. Well, and then of course, he went there and he actually spoke at a KKK members, at his eulogy. But Joe Biden's never been on the record saying that he is against, white supremacy. He's never asked about that. Just like the president had said. Absolutely. There's no tough questions. But the two times now that Joe Biden just was asked as he was coming off of his private jet, what do you have to say about Hunter and these emails? And of course, he said that he has no comment. He doesn't have to comment, and it's a smear campaign.
That's right. I don't know what he's going to say. I don't know how he can say that now with all the emails that they have with his name on them.
Tucker Carlson, shout out to Tucker. You're doing a fantastic job. Dan Bongino, you're doing a fantastic job. And our thoughts and prayers go out to Dan Bongino, where he's been diagnosed with cancer, that he had the growth taken out of his neck. So it's all positive that we, like you said, the technology, the medical advances.
Thank God. Thank God that all these great Americans, we have this technology now, and that we have this medications that are getting better and better. Talking about that and talking about what Russia's going through right now. I have here in California a very liberal friend. I won't mention his name because he is a registered Democrat and he's very liberal. And he happens to be, unfortunately too for him, because anyone with anything is bad, but he's HIV positive.
Mm-hmm.
And he,
which is
of
not
course, was a big
now anymore.
No, it's not. But let me put this to you so that you can understand where I'm going with this. Since we're talking about diseases and we're talking about the Trump effect. Mm-hmm. He's HIV positive, and I think he's been positive for 15, 20 years. I'm not really sure, but he's been positive for a long time. And we had a conversation because he told me, and I almost fell on the floor, that this year he was voting for Trump. And I went, wait a minute. I said, wait a minute. You were a Hillary supporter. You are a staunch Democrat. He goes, yeah, but I'm a gay man and I'm HIV positive. That blew me out of the water too, because I've known him for a long time. I didn't know that. And he said, I have something to tell you. He said, with Obamacare came in, he said, the last term of Obamacare, I thought my Medicare, and he's got insurance, he's a worker, blah, 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 blah. So he said, my insurance every year was going up. My deductible was going up. He said he was paying $450 a month. And he said, I have great insurance. I don't know what insurance he has. I didn't ask him. That wasn't, that wasn't part of the conversation. I just wanted to know why he was voting for Trump. But he said to me, before Obamacare, I would pay $350, $300, with my insurance. After Obamacare came on board, I started paying $450, and that's a lot of money. $450, even if you got a good job, it's a lot of money.
And they're talking about a $10,000, $15,000 deductible.
Right. So anyway, he was paying $450. He said the last year of Obama and the first year of Trump, he was up to $550 a month. And it's not like you can say, you know, I'm going to skip it this month because I guess if you're HIV, you can't skip drugs.
No.
And he said, and I was very happy because he said I knew a lot of people, and I guess he didn't qualify because he's got a good job. Mm-hmm. But anyway, he said to me, since Donald Trump has been president and since he changed Obamacare, he said, I don't know what happened. He said, I really don't care what happened, but today I pay $0 for my HIV medication. He says, I've got the same insurance. The insurance premiums have not gone up in the last 2 years. He said he doesn't know about this year. He says, but his insurance premium haven't gone up in the last 2 years. And he said in the last 2 years, he went from paying $500+ a month for his medications to paying $0 out of pocket.
Well, so, our president did say that for favored nation status, and that's going to be taking full effect of upwards of 70 to 90% drop in pharmaceutical pricing here in the United States.
So all I got to say is, if the president, if this guy who's a super liberal, because he hasn't changed the Republican, let me tell you that. And he can, you know, he said that to me. He said, you know what? I can't vote against this man. He said, because I make more money, I pay less in insurance. He says, and I am paying less for my medication. And he said, I'm also on new medications that have been developed under this president. He said, so I have to really look at what I'm doing, because he said under Obamacare, all I saw was my out-of-pocket monthly cost going up. So, and I said, is that, he said, I'm telling you, I'm voting for this guy simply because of what I'm not paying a month. So I was like, you know what? The president is spot on. I mean, I don't know about that stuff because, you know, I take one little pill a day for my blood pressure, but other than that, you know, it's $5
right.
that I pay. But people that really need medication and stuff like that, the few people I've talked to, especially him, and like I said, he is way out there. He's a way liberal, never going to become a Republican. Don't ever expect him to become a Republican. There's a lot of things. He's going to vote for Trump, but he's still going to vote for a lot of Democrats, which I'm okay with. Mm-hmm. At least he's voting. And this is California. We're not talking, you know, Texas or Oklahoma. We're talking California. So I think the president has done a great job. And I hope to God that he wins again, because if he doesn't win, then our country's going to be doomed. Doomed.
You know, we had talked once upon a time about if what ends up happening with this election, and if Trump doesn't get in, and the idea of voter fraud, or even with a president, let's say Biden does get elected, that man needs to be impeached immediately, because with this situation,
yeah, now he can be.
Biden, the idea to have, I mean, look at, to all of our Poppins Report family and to you and my family, just by as being a mom, if one of my children, if somebody had something over one of my children, that right there is a blackmail situation. Now you potentially have communist governments from out of China, out of Ukraine, absolutely having
everywhere
come on top of, and now if they've been, with everything that allegedly has been paid tens of millions of dollars to the Biden family, and listening to, you know, Mayor Rudy Giuliani, former mayor, and the personal counsel for our president, Donald J. Trump, he was given this hard drive that was out of the laptop that was left by Hunter Biden, and after 90 days, it became his property. And evidently, he had this and was watching it during, he had this and during the impeachment process was looking at what was happening and evidently had turned it into the FBI as of December and January. So now that's going to be the next situation of, hello, Mr. Wray, FBI director, that man needs to resign or he needs to be brought into the Oval Office and he needs to be fired. What say you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because this has gone on too long. And, you know, Pelosi right now is betting that the polls are right. And I'm going to tell you that the polls are very wrong. Because I have a lot of the pulse of a lot of places in California, shockingly enough. And I've got a lot of polls in Florida and some other parts of the country. And I can tell you that people are lying to the pollsters. I have a friend in Florida, and for the people in Florida that are listening to this, I think it's very funny. The Biden campaign is giving people $200 a day and giving them Biden T-shirts to go to the elderly's homes to vote for Biden, to do ballot harvesting in Florida.
Harvesting, completely illegal, federally illegal.
Well, let me tell you what's going on. So a bunch of Cubans that I know have actually signed up for the $200 a day because they got to feed their families. They got to do whatever they got to do to make money. And what has happened, at least in the last month or so, which I think is hilarious, is these people are showing up to these elderly homes and they're helping them fill out their ballots. And they say, this says Biden, but I don't want this mierda to win the election. Which I can't say in English because we're on television.
That's right. Family friendly. We're keeping it. Yeah, right.
Yeah, we're keeping it clean.
That's
So
and so.
So they're saying. So the people with the Biden shirts is here. I'm here to tell you not to vote for this clown, but to vote for Trump, and they're paying them $200 a day. So they're trying to harvest the ballots, and they've actually gotten a lot of people that are Trumpsters that are vote. They're Democrats, but there's no way that they're going to vote for Biden.
Well, that $200 a day seemed to be a standard pricing because our president, even in the last rally last night, where he was talking about Ilhan Omar, that her constituents are expecting $200 per ballot. And then, of course, he didn't hold back, and he literally said, hey, what about this AOC and all the BS that she's looking to bring to the table? And the crowd, they howled loudly. But exactly what you're saying, ballot harvesting, and I'll go ahead, just drop off your ballot. I have been knocking on doors. I've knocked over 1,500 doors since Monday, and today's Saturday, for the GOP, for Stampede. And I have people telling me that they are voting quietly for Trump. And I have dark blue Democrats that are telling me that they're voting for Trump. Blue, light blue, independent. And I'll tell you what we're asking, the questions that we're asking is, are you voting early? Are you mailing in your ballot? Or are you voting on election day? I honestly have not gotten any responses for an absentee other than like an elderly person that can't make it.
Which is good. And as long as you request a ballot, that's okay.
Yes.
I, in California, Gina said, do not send me a ballot. I'm going to go vote.
And that's
they send me a ballot anyway.
They do not trust that. And I was listening to Fox Business, and they said that just in Florida alone, they've got over 156,000 registered brand new Republicans that they have registered, and it's climbing every day. And also a shout out to everyone in California and in Los Angeles that you can register to vote all the way up to October 19th.
Yep, until Monday.
There you go. So we're going to definitely get this episode of the Poppins Report up very, very quickly. And, every vote counts, because you have to realize that our president, there was 3-4 swing states that he won by a total congregate of about 70,000 votes. I
Yep.
mean, 10 is a margin of 10,000 votes. And
Yep.
The percentage of early voting, I think, is just completely blowing people away. And the idea or the thought process of them being Democrat or Republican.
Let me tell you something. I have texted here in the LA County area in the last 2 weeks. Because I'm texting people, because you know what, people don't like to talk on the phone anymore, but they do love texting.
Yeah.
So I have made it a point to text, and I have texted over 21,000 people. I put one message. I tell them who I am. I'm a Cuban refugee. I'm from Cuba. We don't want the same thing to happen. Please vote for Trump. I have texted over 21,000 people, and I have texted independents. They tell me not to text the Democrats, but I can't help myself. When I see a Latin name, I gotta text them. And Republicans.
Hey,
and I will tell you,
my heart better when seeing a big old blue Trump flag flying over somebody's house, and they are a dark blue Democrat on my line.
Yep. And I got to tell you, I have had exactly 7 people text me back to say, "Go F yourself." Of over 21,000 people that I have texted.
And we'll take that all day long.
7. And you know what? And when they said, "Go F yourself," I texted them back, "God bless you. We'll stop texting you." That's all I did. So I'm okay with it.
Well, the idea of, at this point, it's not even, I mean, my mom passed away, your aunt, full disclosure, we are related. We are first cousins. She had dementia and she had Alzheimer's issues. And it's a tragic disease. And the way that she debilitated so fast and so quickly.
It was terrible.
Very interestingly enough, we were talking about, how the debate format is. And for Joe Biden to actually be able to speak for an hour to an hour and a half unassisted, he's unable to do that. So what are your thoughts about throwing out the debate commission and literally just, like in Lincoln's term, when they went to go ahead and do debates, the first person stood up and they spoke for an hour, and then the second person stood up and they spoke for an hour and a half, and then they went back, I guess, and had about 15 minutes between the two of them. But it was literally a oratory of what they were presenting. And if it was a situation but debate. However, now you're looking at the quote unquote moderators being the debaters as well. And I've never seen Joe Biden speak. And that's my concern as an American. How is he going to deal with Putin, Kim Jong-un, President Xi of China, without, a scripted, question.
Yeah, right.
And also the idea of how he misspeaks. It's one word can literally go ahead and set off a war. And this man doesn't have the cognitive ability to be able to have a cohesive thought and be able to play the mental chess game to keep us peace through strength. What say you, John?
Well, God forbid, and you know what? We're still one nation under God. So I really pray that God is listening to us and will protect the United States of America and keep Donald Trump president for the next 4 years. Because you're right, Joe Biden is a disaster. And I really believe that should we lose God and Biden win this election, that it doesn't matter what he says or does, because basically who's going to move into the White House are going to be the AOCs of the world,
We'll have Bernie
You know,
Sanders in charge of the
the
person.
Bernie Sanders.
If Lindsey Graham loses, and I'm in South Carolina currently, if Lindsey Graham loses, then Bernie Sanders will be in charge of the purse strings. They're already talking about Cuomo as Attorney General. We have Beto O'Rourke as the gun czar. And
And he said he's going to take all our guns away.
And then talking in the court. So when you're talking about God staying within as a God we trust, now it's, of course, now we're talking about, Amy Coney Barrett being admonished for her Catholicism, and
can you imagine?
And the idea of the thought process that they're here saying, well, there's seven justices that are Catholic, and that we should institute justices more so on once again, to have atheists, or to have that distributed by, different religious beliefs. Once again, we're all Americans. It should be who is the best person for the job, who is a constitutionalist and who is an originalist, to follow what our text actually is, not to do with anything with your skin color.
And that is the issue here. Justice Barrett is going to be an incredible justice, and they're trying to bring her down because she is a practicing Catholic. She doesn't believe in abortion. And like she said, when I go and I sit on a bench, I don't bring my Catholicism with me. I look at the Constitution. I'm a constitutionalist. And I think that what blew them all away is when she was asked, what notes do you have in front of you? And she picked up a piece of paper that was blank. She has no notes. The woman is brilliant.
Congressional Senate of the United States. So it was the only, obviously this woman has at least 30, 40, potentially 50 IQ points over any of these elected officials, which once again, just because you're elected into a position does not make you omnipotent or raise your IQ level.
I know.
These are the most.
And the dummy senator from New Jersey, which I'm from, as you know, but that moron senator from New Jersey had the nerve to say that he was afraid because, when we were putting these justices on the bench before an election, and this is wrong. The president serves for 4 years. He doesn't serve for 3.5. He doesn't serve for 3 3/4. And what I keep on telling people when
even stated for 4 years.
Right. And what I keep on telling people over and over again when they tell me, oh, this is wrong. I said, the Democrats began this when they didn't allow Bush 8 months before an election, to name anyone to the Supreme Court. So the Democrats started it. The Democrats wanted to push their people, so they lowered the numbers from 60 senators to majority of senators.
And
they started all this.
Because Harry Reid blew that up. He knew.
Yeah. And I remember also when Harry Reid said that Mitt Romney hadn't paid taxes in 10 years, and after the election, a reporter asked him directly. He said, Senator Reid, you know that wasn't the truth, that Mitt Romney had paid his taxes. And Reid answered, so what? It got him to lose the election, didn't it?
No.
So they all lie. And they don't care. They just lie.
Well, and interestingly enough, where they're stating that the president only paid $750 in taxes, I think President Trump actually responded to that very well, because he said, I believe $750 was the filing fee.
Yeah. Well, you know what I also enjoyed, Gina?
When they said, are you 400 million? Who do you owe 400 million? He said, it's called a mortgage. Do you see that big, beautiful Bank of America building, the PG&E building in San Francisco that you were just there? That's a multi-billion dollar building.
Yeah.
400 million is peanuts, just like he said.
But you know what they never did this week or before? They never asked Biden, how come he filed $750,000 in income last year when him and his wife made $13.5 million? You know why? Because they only declared 750, and the rest, the other 13 million, they were put in S accounts, in all S. So Biden played the game very well, but Biden was never asked why, if he made $13.5 million, $13.5 million him and his wife made last year, and it was all on speeches and donations and stuff. They didn't produce anything. They didn't produce a pen.
No.
They only did speeches and write stuff for papers and the lovely media. They made $13.5 million, but yet they only declared $750,000. Why isn't the media asking him that? Because he doesn't hire anybody. He doesn't produce anything. He didn't buy any buildings. He didn't remodel anything.
It underscores where the media is currently, and that it's all in the pockets. If it has anything to do that could potentially harm or bring Joe Biden in an unfair, favorable light, then that's exactly what's being presented.
Yeah.
It's definitely, this is not, oranges versus oranges at all. Just exactly with what's happened to Twitter. They have perpetuated lie after lie after lie.
A whole Russian hoax.
And put any type of, look at Melania Trump. They had audio that was obviously hacked and purportedly made and released without her knowledge and consent. Anything that can possibly make this administration or Trump or his family look bad any way, shape, or form, it's a pylon.
Well, you know what? I think the American people, God bless us, the American people are seeing through this. I have to tell you that to be a real capitalist, I'm okay with what Twitter and Facebook did with the whole Biden thing this week, because I think that helped us tremendously, because that showed how really controlling they are in the media. That shows you that.
The Streisand effect, which is, Barbara Streisand, went to Google and said, I don't want you to go ahead and show location of where my house is or what my house looks like. And because she was adamant to stop it, it brought more people to look at it. And I think that this exactly what you're saying, it ended up backfiring in their face to see exactly what censorship and what the true meaning of free speech is, and how you can be sequestered having a .gov email address, and being the New York Post being a newspaper that's been in existence for 200 years and owned by.
And it's the fourth largest newspaper in the country. The fourth.
It really is. It's beyond shocking. It really is an upside down day. And yeah, you're absolutely right. I think it's brought people more so to have options, because capitalism, once again, shout out to Dan Bongino as an investor, to Parler. All of our Poppins Report subscribers, please head on over and open up a Parler account right now, where free speech, both Democrat, liberal, Republican,
anybody,
it is all completely embraced, as well as go ahead and subscribe to Rumble, where you can go ahead and upload your videos. And this is where Home Poppins and also the Poppins Reports lives. And once again, there will not be any type of suppression in your speech. And those are capitalist companies. And I really believe, and what is your thoughts about right now having that, the 230 mandate, as far as when Facebook and Twitter and social media was up and coming? having that hide behind removed. And what do you think that they're going to face as they are being interviewed? Because they've all been subpoenaed. They're all going to be on Capitol Hill. And
it's going to be fun to watch.
It's a bust up like AT&T, and because all of that, Google, Twitter, Facebook, Alphabet, way too big. What are your thoughts?
Well, let me tell you, I am one of those people that does the day trading, and there was a big article about on Friday about us day traders and how everybody's very upset with us because we're actually moving markets, not letting that the big wigs are not moving the markets anymore, and that big wigs have had to spend mucho money this week holding up some stocks like Facebook. For example, I've had Facebook as one of my stocks for a long time, and this week when Facebook pulled the shit that they pulled, pardon my English, I forgot.
Scheiße, das ist Sprachen die Deutschen, Scheiße. No nein Problem, mein Herr.
When Facebook did what it did this week, I immediately sold. I sold, and I didn't care if it went up or went down, but I can tell you that I do know that some of the very, very wealthy got very shaken because Facebook started to go down. So they threw a lot of money into it because us day traders, us people that control our own lives, started selling, and I sold, and I'm okay with it going up. I mean, you know what? It's a capitalist country. We can do whatever we want with our company, but it's also very wrong because if they're supposed to be a news outlet like they call themselves these days, not an entertainment outlet, they call themselves a news outlet, then they should allow people to put stuff on that they believe. That is true. As our vice president said, you're entitled to your opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts.
Amen.
And I think that's that. I think that saying is going to go down in history as the most important saying of any vice president.
I think that's a T-shirt on the Poppins report waiting to happen here.
Yes.
You're entitled to your own opinion, but not your own facts.
Yes, and I have to tell you that once again, I think that what Twitter and Facebook did unknowingly backfired.
Absolutely.
As my uncle would say, le salió la cula por la culata. In other words, it backfired really bad. And I think that actually what they did this week was put the Bidens up for real on media, not so much because of what happened with the Bidens, the crookedness of the Bidens, but because of the hiding it. And the majority of American people don't like criminals.
No.
Even if you're a Democrat all your life,
it's going to actually tell you what you can and what you cannot do, and the idea of a mandate to shut down our country once again,
yep,
and to sequester us, and no, not only no, but hell no.
Yep. And I'll tell you what, I think that Joe Biden will shut down the country again. Instead of doing what New Zealand did and what Japan have done, which is treat people with strong medications and do real prevention.
Well,
I think that all he wants to do is control. I mean, when you see that old fool, and I'm going to call him an old fool because I can, because I'm a senior citizen now. I'm so proud of it. I'm a senior citizen now.
Yes, right? But, over 50.
Yeah, we're seniors. I can say anything I want about old people. When that old fool gets out of his private jet, which, by the way, I hope he's paying carbon money, because he's flying around his private jet. But anyway, when that old fool gets off the plane, he's got this mask on. There's nobody around him. The mask is when you can't be 6 feet away from somebody. But he's like 100 feet away from people, and he's got a mask on. Supposedly he lives with his wife, but when him and his wife are around each other, they have a mask on. So you wonder if he lives downstairs or she lives upstairs. Maybe that's the problem. That's why they have the mask on. But I think what happened this week, Gina, was really good. Um, I have no problem with what Twitter and Facebook did because they own their company. They can, they can do whatever they want. I
However,
think also,
they do not have the right as far as to when they were talking about what their initial mission statements were to offer a platform of free speech, and what they are doing as a private business, great, but now they are becoming a publisher. If they are editing and they are censoring, and
they
it is
are
equal across, as all boats rise equally on the wave, now they need to be held to a different standard. If they are a publisher and what they are allowing to be said, that's where the rubber hits the road.
Yeah, but you got to remember, the Democrats demand equal time when when they're on our channels, like on Fox and stuff like that. But when they're on their channels, there's no equal time. No equal time. So it's a double standard. But I will say that if the Democrats do take control of the Senate, the Congress, and the White House, be careful, media, because you're the first people they're going to go after.
Oh, absolutely.
That's all I got to say.
Yep, that really is. That really is. And we've seen so many other countries, because history truly, truly repeats itself.
Yeah, it does.
And the idea of, as our president has said, you look at, they're tearing down statues of Abraham Lincoln, of Washington, of Jefferson, and then what's next?
But talking about statues, there is a statue in Massachusetts of the first Black Army group that fought in the Civil War to defend and to stop slavery. And what did these people do? They defaced it. It was a Union Black unit of all ex-slaves that were fighting for their freedom, under a Republican, under a red flag of republicanism, and these people have destroyed it. So they're communists. They're communists.
What you've just touched upon is a very good segue to where is this money coming from, where it's funding Antifa, where it's funding these groups, where this is all happening in what states. Mr. George Soros himself, Mr. Michael Bloomberg himself, $100 million here, $70 million there. I'm here in South Carolina, and you have the congressional candidate that's running against Lindsey Graham. I won't even mention his name to give him any type of airtime. $57 million into a congressional campaign here in South Carolina. And I do want to add that South Carolina was the only state in the union that never shut down.
Nope.
They made amends as far as social distancing, masks, but they never shut down. And I met Governor McMaster and also our Lieutenant Governor here, and he was very proud of that fact. And that's something that every single one of the states could have done.
Of course.
The amount of money. Let's talk about even the local races that are going on in California, and the local races that are happening. The amount of money that's being shoved and spent for the PAC for Maxine Waters.
Huge. And you know what's funny? Maxine Waters doesn't live in her district. She lives in a $6 million mansion outside her district.
If any of you, the watchers of the Poppins Report, have not seen that, please go ahead to Joe Collins for Congress and take a look at this video that he just puts Maxine Waters' feet to the fire, walking through the district and showing a $6 million mansion that is not in the district. Once upon a time, she was in the district, but things got reassessed. So now, where are we? Not to mention,
listen, she's a millionaire, and she lives in a $6 million mansion, and her husband has made mucho money off the government, just like Barbara Boxer's husband. And all I can say is that California, The problem in California is that the liberal Democrats that are all in control, all they care about is themselves.
And those really
And we have a problem in California.
It has nothing to do with California as a whole, because as it was on the ballot, that California could literally be cut into 7 different states, not within half. And then what would end up happen that you would end up having some of the 3 or 4 poorest states. But what is fueling California is basically the population out of Los Angeles and the population in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Yep, that's it. And I will tell you that California is doomed. We have fires everywhere. In fact, I was joking with Ronnie the other day. I said to her, if we get floods or the plague, I'm leaving, because that's it. That's it. I mean, we have fires constantly. We have smoke everywhere.
Well,
we have earthquakes.
Fires, as our president had pointed out, which I think is a good conversation to talk about, is forestry management. And even in Oregon, when they completely eviscerated the mills and the industry that the forest, wood and industry, that they were very responsibly forest management to take the dead trees out, to actually cut trees down, to replant them, that this is what you end up. And you were old enough to remember the whole debacle about the spotted owl, remember?
Yeah, but let me tell you something. I was in Lake Tahoe last weekend, and we were over in Nevada. And when we kept on crossing over back and forth between the states, and you look at the forest area in Nevada, they had a few fires, but nothing like we had in California.
Yeah.
But you look at their forests, and their forests are clean. You looked at California, and you saw nothing but tinder, because we're not cleaning the floors of the forest. So what happens? You get lightning bolt, and you get a fire, and it's out of control. But in California, what they haven't told you, that there's no such thing as climate change with these fires. There were 15 fires that were set in California.
Arson.
Nothing to do with Mother Nature, nothing to do with climate change, nothing to do with heat. They were set. The biggest one was when a couple went into the forest with a nurturing cake, and they exploded a nurturing cake to see what their baby was going to be. And they set the largest fire in the history of California. What does that have to do with climate change? Nothing.
No, has nothing to do with the gender reveal. And, for everybody out there, congratulations, on your upcoming bundle of joy, which is another segue to the level of where we are and how Amy Coney Barrett and the idea of Roe versus Wade and abortion, and truly where the Roe versus Wade was actually implemented to protect the doctors. It didn't have anything to do with protecting a woman. It had nothing to do with their biological rights. It was left from state to state to state. And at this point, we can truly go ahead and look at where we're at. What are your thoughts on that?
I'm completely against abortion. I think that even if your child is coming with Down syndrome or anything like that, I think that those children are gifts from God to make us more human. I think we don't have the right to take life of a child. I think that the difference between a Republican and a socialist Democrat is very, very basic. We will protect the life of any child, and they will protect the life of any murderer. So while I'm okay injecting, electrifying, shooting, burning an SOB who's raped, who's killed innocent people.
The Boston bomber who they want to give the right to vote.
Yes. Well, listen, they did it in Florida. The kid in Florida who shot up the high school, they wanted to give him the vote in the last election. So the difference between us is that I will protect the life of any child, any form, shape, or mannerism that I have to. I have read accounts and have listened to people that worked in Planned Parenthood. In fact, there was an article today of someone who worked in Planned Parenthood a couple of years ago, and he actually wrote something because it has ruined his life. He was part of an abortion. The abortion went wrong. The baby was actually born. The baby was pink. The baby was normal. And when the mother woke up, they told the mother, "Oh, the abortion went fine. You know, the fetus is dead." The baby was not dead. The baby was fully functional. He, as the assistant nurse, was told to put the baby in a room and close the door and forget it because it was an abortion. And that, you know, what were they going to do with the kid? And to this day, this happened many years ago. To this day, he can't get over that. The next day, he went back to the clinic because he couldn't take it anymore to see if maybe the child was still alive. And what he found was a child that was dead. Can you imagine a baby, a human being, that all they want is protection, that they need love and care, and that is put in a crib in a dark room and naked, left to die overnight? That that picture just destroys me inside. And this is not the first time that I've heard this or read stuff like this. So I think that every child should have a right to live. Look, if you made it, let it live. Because you don't know if that child could be the next inventor of Apple, or the next inventor of the cure for cancer, of special cancer, or if that child is going to be brilliant and going to be able to propel us into space. That child was brought to this earth for a reason, you know? So I'm totally against abortion. I don't care. I just don't care. And if the baby is born with problems, there's modern medicine. That child can be saved. And if that child can live 2 years, 3 years, 1 year, let it live. You know, I have a friend.
Families that want to adopt in any way, shape, or form.
A lot.
Once again,
want to adopt, can't have children.
Talking to the Poppins Report audience, if you know of anybody, any woman that is struggling and in a situation like this, you can, without any type of recourse, you can bring that baby to the hospital. You can bring that baby to the fire department. There are options, and anybody who is, with child right now, there are families that want this child desperately, and there are
options. Absolutely. You know what? And one of the things that we need to remember is that Planned Parenthood was started to kill Black children.
Absolutely.
Let's never forget that.
The white trash, Black children, any type of minority babies, absolutely. And when you think about statistics of over 60 million abortions.
That's monstrous. That's monstrous.
It pales in comparison when you look at any type of genocide. This is a genocide that you have contributors contributing to this genocide, and then stating that it's my body and it's my choice. And you look at the women that have had abortions, half of them and the majority of them are saying, I think about this and it haunts me to this day.
Yep.
You have women that are celebrating how they've murdered their babies. And I was a child of the 70s. We were both children, and being raised in the 70s, and Fleetwood Mac came And now just Stevie Nicks has went to go ahead and state that if I didn't have an abortion, you wouldn't have Fleetwood Mac. I look at it that we couldn't have Fleetwood Mac, we couldn't have had music and Stevie Nicks. Perhaps you couldn't have had a child with Lindsey Buckingham or with whoever else that would have gotten in the way of the music. It pales even the conversation to what kind of monstrous behavior that we embrace as normal.
Yep,
and
absolutely.
That is the lack of dogma that we're being accused of, that there is a God, or that life is precious, and potentially, what our big God-given rights are, and the idea of where family is, and how, like Amy Coney Barrett having a situation because she has 7 children and that 2 are adopted, that is just abhorrent. That how could she be so irresponsible, where you have then a sect of people stating that, the planet's overpopulated and we have to decrease the population. I mean, we really have come into Soylent Green. You thought you were eating algae, but and for those of you who don't know what Soylent Green is, just go ahead and Google the movie Soylent.
Google it, move it. Yeah, it would be a shocker.
Yeah. Don't have enough time, but yeah, go ahead. We'll leave a different, indexing notes, what to go ahead and look at. It pales into what, I guess, back to accountability and responsibility, that instead of potentially practicing a birth control, rather than using abortion as the birth control.
That's not birth control.
And then using abortion after the first trimester, which we already know at 20 weeks, a baby literally has eyes, has nose, has a mouth, has fingers, and has
everything.
And does feel pain. So, it is all about, as far as the children and the mothers, and I really want to go ahead and focus on one thing that you had said previously on the very first Poppins report, that you really believe it is the mothers and the Christian mothers and the heads and the matriarchs of the families that are going to literally save our country, and all of those suburban housewives that are going to get to the pole.
They have to, because the women of America have to open up. Well, I think the women of America already understand how important this election is, and I think the women of America are going to come out in strong support of Donald Trump. I tell you, I go to rallies here in California, in the bluest of blues, and I see them out there. I see them in big support of Donald Trump. I see them in big support of Donald Trump because it's the support of their own families.
Yeah.
Because let's you know what? Before this pandemic hit, everybody was making more money. Everybody was going
Our president
better. Everybody was doing better.
By February, blue-collar wages were up. Black unemployment was the lowest in history. Latino,
Hispanic, everyone.
Everybody was up. 56% of people polled say they are better off today, 4 years later. That's what you have to look at. You have to look at your pocketbooks. You have to look at your family. You have to look at your love of country and what this president embraces and has made us feel patriotic again. I went to the Trump rally in Fayetteville, and just like you said, it makes you feel and proud to be an American. Just like
it does. It makes you feel proud to be American.
I'm from the Dominican Republic, but I'm an American. I'm an American. And I think that's really where we are right now. We are all Americans, and we have nothing to apologize for.
Nothing. Well, Miss Gina, I've got to get back to the office because we have a 3 o'clock here that we're going to go up to Burbank.
Just like
And-
you and I, we can just get into it and we just start talking what our minds.
I know. Before you know it, it's over an hour, but I love it. I love talking to you.
And this is what the Poppins Report is all about. We have 17 days left until the literally, truly the most important election in our lifetimes, and actually what will be our children's lifetimes and our grandchildren,
Yes.
and our great-grandchildren. This will truly shape
The survival of America.
It's do or die. This will truly shape what our country will look like in the next 200 years. If you need any help in regards to voting, you can go to gop.gov. You can get information on being able to vote and register to vote. I want to do a quick drop right now. Our sponsor for today is Noah Way Art. This is made by Maddie Frisella. You can find it on Etsy. It's all made out of natural products. It's all actually thrown away paper that she
Wow, that's amazing.
and she turns into this amazing that you can just take it and you can just begin to just as a stress reliever and as an emotional divergence that you can literally bring and focus to where you are, so you can get these beautiful everyone is one of a kind. It's called No Away because there is no throwing away. There is
Good.
no away. So No Away Art, and this is Gina Destito, and this is the Poppins Report. And John, if you would
Let me turn this way so we can see the Trump again.
Yes, and if you'd go ahead and make a couple of drops for the Poppins Report, that would be fantastic.
I will.
Go ahead, anytime you're ready.
Well, I think that the Poppins Report is going to be one of the major reports out there because it talks about facts that are going on today. So I really appreciate being on your show. I really appreciate you being such a strong supporter of the president. And God bless America, and God bless you, Gina.
Well, thank you so much, John. And this is Gina Destito, and this is John Goya, and you've been listening to the Poppins Report. Be sure to follow us on Rumble and also on Parler, and that's thepoppinsreport.com. John Goya, we'll talk very, very soon, and let's go ahead and see if we can manage to even get something daily all the way up to Election Day. And even when it's popping and 35 people are going on over there, let's even get some of that, because that's what people need. People need to know that there is a family and everybody is content. Okay, and thank you so much. And this is Gina Destito, the Poppins Report on Poppin' Out.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.